There's a unique kind of helplessness that gnaws at your soul when you watch someone you love drown, and they refuse to take your hand. I felt that helplessness every single day watching my sister disappear. My sister Maya was a force of nature. 2 years older than me, she was the sun to my quiet moon, the vibrant burst of colour in our family's otherwise steady landscape. She had a laugh that could fill a room, a boundless energy, and an infectious optimism that drew everyone to her. I, on the other hand, was always the watchful one, the observer, content to stand slightly in her shadow, admiring her brilliance. We were different, yes, but our bond was as undeniable as our shared blood. She was my first friend, my protector, the person who understood me without words. Our childhood was filled with the usual sibling squabbles, but underlying it all was an unwavering loyalty. When I fell and scraped my knee, she was there with a comforting hug and a silly song to distract me from the pain. When I struggled with homework, she'd patiently explain it until I understood. And when teenage insecurities gnawed at me, she was the first to tell me I was beautiful, strong, and capable. I saw her as invincible, a person who could charm her way through any challenge, whose spirit could never be dimmed. As we grew into young adulthood, our lives diverged slightly as they do. She went off to a big university, pursuing a demanding career path, while I stayed closer to home, finding my own quieter rhythm. But we remained close. Our phone calls were long and frequent, filled with updates on our lives, shared jokes, and the comfortable intimacy of a lifelong connection. I still looked up to her, still admired her drive, her unwavering confidence. Then, she met him. Alex. He arrived like a storm front, captivating and intense. At first, he seemed wonderful, charismatic, intelligent, utterly devoted to Maya. He swept her off her feet with grand gestures, lavish gifts, and declarations of undying love that seemed to sparkle in her eyes. Maya, always one to love passionately, dove headfirst into the relationship, convinced she had found her soulmate. And I, ever the observer, watched from the sidelines, happy for her, a little envious of the grand romance she seemed to have found. But even then, a faint tremor of unease stirred within me. It was nothing I could pinpoint, just a subtle shift in the air whenever he was around, a slight tension in Maya's shoulders when he called, a peculiar possessiveness in his gaze, disguised as adoration. But I dismissed it. This was love, after all. Intense, all-consuming love. It must just be my quiet nature, my slightly cautious personality that couldn't quite grasp the magnitude of their passion. I wanted her to be happy, truly happy, and she seemed it, wrapped in the whirlwind of Alex's world. The change in Maya was gradual, insidious. It started subtly, almost imperceptibly. Her vibrant energy began to dim. Her laughter became less frequent, less spontaneous. Our phone calls, once a lifeline, became shorter, often interrupted or rescheduled. When we did speak, there was a hesitation in her voice, a new cautiousness. She'd always been so open with me, but now there were silences, unspoken truths hanging in the air. She started spending less time with our family, with her old friends. Alex, she'd explain, needed her. He was going through a tough time at work. He was sensitive. He felt misunderstood. And Maya, ever the empath, ever the fiercely loyal partner, would rush to his side, leaving us behind. The stories she told began to shift. He was easily upset, she'd admit, but it was because he loved her so much. He just wanted her to be safe, which was why he preferred her to stay home with him. He got jealous, yes, but only because he couldn't imagine life without her. The subtle manipulation, disguised as love, began to unfold. He isolated her, gradually separating her from her support system. He chipped away at her self-esteem, subtly questioning her decisions, her opinions, her friendships. Are you sure that friend has your best interests at heart? You're so much smarter than your boss. Why do you let them treat you that way? He made her question her reality, slowly eroding her confidence until she relied almost solely on his distorted mirror. I tried to talk to her, gently at first. "Are you okay, Maya? You seem different." She'd become defensive, quickly shutting down the conversation. "You just don't understand him, Iris. You don't see how deeply he loves me." Or worse, she'd parrot his own words back to me. "You're just jealous of our connection. You always try to find fault." The helplessness was a constant ache. I watched my sister, once so bright, shrink before my eyes. Her vibrant spirit dimmed to a flicker. She lost weight. Her eyes became shadowed, and the easy smile I loved so much rarely reached them anymore. When I saw her, she seemed constantly on edge, walking on eggshells, tailoring her responses to avoid his potential disapproval. The confident woman I knew was replaced by a fragile, soul-anxious shadow. My parents, kind and well-meaning, tried too. They would express concern, invite her for family dinners she rarely attended. But Alex would often call during those dinners, his voice carrying an edge even through the phone, and Maya would quickly make her excuses and leave. They were blind to the true extent of the manipulation, seeing only a devoted, if intense, relationship. But I, the quiet observer, the unofficial guardian, saw the truth. I saw the subtle bruises on her spirit, the invisible chains he was slowly binding her with. I saw my sister disappearing, piece by painful piece, swallowed by his shadow. And the thought of losing her entirely, of seeing her break, became my most terrifying nightmare. The breaking point arrived unexpectedly, brutally. It was a cold winter night. I received a frantic, whispered call from Maya. Her voice was barely audible, raw with terror. "Iris," she choked out, He locked me out. I don't have my keys. It's freezing. He's so angry." My blood ran cold. This wasn't just emotional manipulation anymore. This was a direct threat. This was physical control, a chilling escalation. All the quiet warnings, all the desperate observations solidified into one undeniable truth. She was in danger. Real, tangible danger. I drove to their apartment, my heart pounding a frantic rhythm against my ribs. The streets were slick with ice, but I barely noticed. When I arrived, the apartment building was dark, silent. I found Maya huddled by the entrance, shivering uncontrollably, her face tear-streaked and ghostly pale. Her eyes, usually so full of life, were hollowed out, filled with a despair that broke my heart into a million pieces. I pulled her into my arms, holding her tight, feeling the frailness of her body. "He won't let me in," she whispered, her voice cracking. "He said he's done. He hates me." In that moment, a quiet, fierce resolve solidified within me. The helplessness evaporated, replaced by a surge of protective fury. I was done watching from the sidelines. I was done with the quiet observation. My sister, my other half, was broken, and I would not let her shatter entirely. I looked at the apartment door, then back at Maya. "We're not going back in there," I stated, my voice firm, unwavering. "Not tonight. Not ever." She looked up at me, her eyes wide, full of a fleeting hope, quickly shadowed by years of conditioning. "But where will I go? What about Alex? He'll be so angry." "He doesn't get to be angry anymore," I said, pulling her towards my car. "You're coming home with me, and we're going to get you help. Real help." The fight began the next day. A battle not just against Alex, but against years of ingrained control, against the subtle poison that had seeped into Maya's mind. Alex called relentlessly, his messages a terrifying blend of threats and desperate pleas, manipulative apologies and vicious accusations. He painted me as the villain, the jealous sister trying to destroy their perfect love. He reached out to our parents, twisting the narrative, making them question my motives. But I held firm. I surrounded Maya with love, with safety, with the gentle, unwavering truth she desperately needed to hear. I brought her to therapists, explained the patterns of emotional abuse to our parents, slowly, patiently, helping them understand the insidious nature of what she had endured. It was a harrowing, exhausting fight. There were moments when Maya, still trapped in his mental web, would waver, wanting to return to the familiar, even if it was destructive. There were moments when I felt utterly alone, battling not just him, but the very deep-seated fear in her that had been cultivated for so long. But I didn't let go. I became her unofficial guardian, her steadfast anchor in a stormy sea. This wasn't about revenge on Alex. It was about reclaiming my sister. It was a fight for her spirit, her sanity, her very life. And in that desperate struggle, the quiet observer found her loudest voice, unwavering and fierce, ready to tear down the walls that had imprisoned the person I loved most. The aftermath of escaping a toxic relationship is rarely clean or immediate. It's a messy, often agonizing journey, and Maya's was no different. The first few months were filled with relapses of doubt, moments of intense sadness, and the terrifying realization of how much of herself she had lost. She struggled with nightmares, with sudden fits of anxiety, with the deep-seated fear that she was unlovable without him. But slowly, painstakingly, she began to heal. I saw it in the small things, a genuine laugh that finally reached her eyes. A spontaneous decision she made without second-guessing herself, a flicker of her old spark returning. She started therapy, a space where she could unpack the trauma, understand the manipulation, and slowly, gently, begin to rebuild her sense of self-worth. Our family, too, went through a transformation. My parents, once somewhat blind to the subtle abuse, became fiercely protective, their love now informed by a painful understanding. They started seeing the red flags in other relationships, listening more closely, becoming advocates for healthy boundaries. Our family dynamic shifted, becoming more open, more honest, built on a foundation of hard-won truth. For me, the unofficial guardian, the journey was profoundly transformative. I had always been the quiet one, the one who observed rather than acted. But watching Maya's struggle, and then fighting alongside her for her freedom, unlocked a strength I never knew I possessed. It taught me the fierce power of unconditional love, the quiet courage required to stand up for someone, even when they can't stand up for themselves. It cemented my belief in the resilience of the human spirit and the unbreakable bond of family. Maya isn't the same person she was before Alex. The experience left scars, some deep ones. But those scars are also a testament to her incredible strength, her capacity to survive and to heal. She is blooming again, slowly, beautifully. Her laugh is returning, fuller and more resonant than before. Her eyes hold a deeper wisdom, a quiet strength born from enduring profound darkness. Our sisterly bond, once tested by fire, is now forged in unbreakable steel. We talk about everything now, the good and the bad, the triumphs and the lingering pain. I am no longer just her observer. I am her unwavering ally, her constant reminder that she is worthy of a love that is pure, respectful, and truly free. The shadow has lifted, and in the light my sister once lost is finding her way back to herself, brighter and more beautiful than ever. Watching someone you love navigate a toxic relationship can be an incredibly painful and helpless experience. If you or someone you know is struggling with emotional manipulation or abuse, remember that there is help available, and you are not alone. Support systems are crucial, and breaking the cycle is possible. If this story resonated with you, if you've been the unofficial guardian for a loved one, or if you're on your own journey of healing from a toxic relationship, please share your experiences and insights in the comments below. Your stories of courage and resilience can inspire and empower others. And if this narrative touched your heart or offered a moment of understanding, please consider subscribing to the channel and hitting the like button. Your support helps me continue to share these deeply personal stories of survival, healing, and the unbreakable bonds of love. Thank you for listening.